On today's edition of the Prep Rally Podcast, we're going to talk about Toughness. Toughness is Lexi Franklin of the Booneville Lady Bearcats. We'll talk about her feats and more on today's Prep Rally Podcast.
It's the Prep Rally Podcast, the only podcast in the state dedicated to prep sports. Brought to you by the Northwest Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Here's your host, Chip Souza.
All right. This is the end of the school year, end of the sports season. Prep Rally Podcast. This will be the final podcast of this school year, and we have a lot to talk about. I'm Chip Souza, joined by Graham Thomas and Paul Boyd and Leland Barclay, and we're going to recap state championships that were played last week down in Central Arkansas in Conway. Now, Leland, you had a front row seat for a couple of really good softball games, but more importantly, you had a front row seat to see one of the toughest kids I've ever heard of prior to Saturday's 3A state softball championship game.
Oh, absolutely. You know, at UCA's softball facility, there's no batting cages. So Booneville stopped at a park close to UCA just to take batting practice before they went to the park. And Coach Chad Simpson said, you know, they were out there practicing and taking some batting practice and warming up and things. And he looks over and Lexi Franklin is bleeding. And she had been hit in the head by a teammate swinging a bat right above the right eye.
Oh.
And so she went to the emergency room. And about 20 minutes before the game, she shows up, goes out to the bullpen and starts warming up with her catcher, Ronnie Tillery. Goes out and pitches the Lady Bearcats to the Class 3A state championship.
If that is not toughness, boys, I do not know what toughness is. She had 6 stitches over her right eye, numbed it up good, stitched it up, bandaged it up, came in, put on her mask, which was set right on top of that stitched up eyebrow, and went out. And not only, Leland, did she pitch her team to a state championship, she also had a big hit for the Lady Bearcats in that game.
Yeah, in the top of the second inning, she led off the inning with a double off the wall in left center. Ended up scoring and on a ground ball. She advanced to third on an error, scored on a grounder by Ronnie Tillery. Booneville ended up scoring 2 runs in the inning to take a 2-0 lead. She came up to bat in the third inning, got a 3-1 count. They just decided to go ahead and not even pitch the fourth
Put her on.
and put her on. And then she came up in the fourth inning again and the 6th inning again, and they didn't even pitch to her. Put her on both times.
Put her on. Send her.
A semi-intentional walk and then 2 intentional walks without even throwing a pitch.
Yeah. And then I think, did she get a double there late in the game or something, or no?
No, she had the double to start off the second inning.
Okay.
That started Booneville on a 2-0 lead. Then she was walked intentionally in the fourth inning. It was already 3-2. It was a tie game, and she came up with runners on second and third, and they put her on after a 3-1 count, which loaded the bases, and then Ronnie Tillery walked on a 3-2 count.
Tie game.
To force in the go-ahead run and make it 4-3.
I got you. All right. So there again, another case of a girl, softball player, just absolutely, stepping up when they're hurt. We have already talked about Gravette and Brooke Handle, how she did the same thing for her team with a broken jaw, and finished the game out with a broken jaw, then had her jaw wired shut and pitched pretty much a little over half of the season. Well, probably half, because she did miss 2 games with her jaw wired shut. And also, just like Lexi Franklin, was the MVP of the Class 4A state championship game, in which Gravette got a 5-1 win against Pea Ridge in that one. She came in after Sydney Kildall had pitched 3 innings to start the game. They brought in Brooke, which is what Samantha Luther, the coach at Gravette, had been doing throughout pretty much the whole postseason. Starting Kildall, bringing in Brooke Handle to close out games. She came in, pitched 4 scoreless, hitless innings for Gravette, and they won the school's first ever state softball championship. Congratulations to them. They beat Pea Ridge 4 times this season, which is a very, very hard thing to do. So a very muchly deserved state championship for the Gravette Lady Lions, and what a great season they had, and just a tremendous storyline there with Brooke Handel and overcoming what she did to lead her team to the 4A state championship. Leland, one of the best games, I guess, of the state tournament on the softball side, did not go in the favor of our team, Mansfield, but what a tremendous softball game you got to see on Friday. Riverside 1, Mansfield 0. Leland, if I remember this correctly, the pitchers combined for 35 strikeouts in that game.
It was 34-18 by Riverside pitcher Claire Womack, 16 by Mansfield pitcher Allison Edwards.
Wow.
And through 3 innings, they each had 9 strikeouts through 3 innings. So it was absolutely a classic pitcher's duel, and Riverside was able to scratch across the run in the top of the 6th. And in a pitcher's duel, a lot of times maybe there'll be a run scored early, and that kind of changes the game. But gosh, in a pitcher's duel, when a run is scored in the 6th inning, I mean, that's just so deflating to the other team, and it was obvious to the Lady Tigers.
And I think,
but in the top of the 6th, they had a 1-out hit, sacrificed. Actually, it was a base hit, and then a sacrifice, and then a soft liner to left by Mackenzie Thomas, and that was the difference in the game.
1 run. I think, Leland, if I remember right, I think Mansfield had 2 hits and Riverside had 3. I think that's right.
Yes, 2 hits and 1 run on 3 hits for Riverside.
Wow.
5 hits in the game, 34 strikeouts.
Wow.
Leland, I'd be curious just to know, what was the time on that game? How long did that take? Because usually that an hour maybe to play that?
I can tell you it was fast.
That one was an hour and 37 minutes.
Yeah.
An hour and a half.
Now,
A little more drama.
Yeah, and there were a few base runners, especially early. Riverside had a couple on early, and then 3, 6, 9, 12. Then Allison Edwards retired, I guess, 15 in a row.
Wow. That's the Mansfield pitcher. I was telling Leland, I drove down Friday to cover the Springdale and Conway soccer match, and got behind a wreck on I-49, which delayed me for about, I guess, almost 45 minutes. But anyway, by the time I got down to Conway for soccer, that soccer match was almost at halftime. And but softball, I heard, was in a delay because of rain. Right. And I said, well, cool, because softball wasn't supposed to start until 1 o'clock anyway, so I already had an hour difference in the game times. So I said, well, that's great. I'll get over and see some of that softball, that Mansfield Riverside softball, after my soccer match ends and everything. And so anyway, I got my story done and everything, and get in the car and check my game changer. They were already in the 6th inning in the softball game.
About done.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, God, I'm not going to get to see any of this thing, But I got over there just in time to see about the last inning of it, and that was it. I know Mansfield girls were disappointed, but, you tip your cap, to the pitcher for Riverside, and you tip your cap and just say, you know what? It took a supreme effort for her to beat us today, and we have nothing to be ashamed of because our pitcher was just as impressive. They just happened to scratch out a run that we didn't get, and both teams played, absolutely flawless softball in that game.
It was, like I said, the base hit with 2 outs in the top of the 6th on a full count, and it was a soft liner to left field.
Wow.
So it wasn't like a line drive, but it was just one of those made contact with 2 outs and drove the run home after a sacrifice bunt had moved her up.
Yeah.
If that run had not happened, they could have gone for a while.
They might still be playing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, in the Gravette Pea Ridge game, what was the big difference in that one, Paul, was the lower half of the Gravette order combined for 5 hits and 5 RBIs and a home run in that game.
Wow.
They delivered big time for Gravette and came through big time. But as Samantha Luther will tell you, and also the Pea Ridge coach said, Gravette doesn't have a lower half of the order. It just has a batting order. Okay? It's just a batting order. 1 through 9 batting order. It's not lower half, upper half, middle half. It's a batting order, and all of them can swing it, and they proved it. They proved it. So big win there for Gravette, and congratulations to Samantha Luther for that one. Now let's kick it over to baseball, where on Thursday, early in the afternoon on Thursday, Springdale Har-Ber took on Bentonville in the Class 6A state championship baseball game. It was Springdale Har-Ber in that one 5-1. I believe that was the final, 5-1. So a big win, championship win for Dustin Helmkamp and the Har-Ber Wildcats. They were a team that battled all year long. They hung right in there, got that number 2 seed in the conference, which gave them a first-round bye, which is always a benefit.
Sure.
Ross Felder pitched well in the 2 games he pitched for Har-Ber. He's an Arkansas verbal commit.
Said you'd never, won a state championship as a player or as a coach. So now you have. So how does that feel?
It feels good. Finally. I don't know. It's amazing.
You guys have battled through adversity. Your pitcher took a shot to the face. You guys could have kind of, turned it in a little bit there, but she, does her toughness kind of epitomize what your team is?
100%. Yeah. The girls, they just fed off that, and we talked about that. If you push yourself to be the best that you can be, what does that do for your teammates? That makes them want to be the best that they can be. And so we definitely saw that with Brooke and just throughout the season.
Let's kick it over to baseball, where on Thursday, early in the afternoon on Thursday, Springdale Har-Ber took on Bentonville in the Class 6A state championship baseball game. It was Springdale Har-Ber in that one 5-1. I believe that was the final, 5-1. So a big win, championship win for Dustin Helmkamp and the Har-Ber Wildcats. They were a team that battled all year long. They hung right in there, got that number 2 seed in the conference, which gave them a first-round bye, which is always a benefit.
Sure.
Ross Felder pitched well in the 2 games he pitched for Har-Ber. He's an Arkansas verbal commit, and just a big win for Har-Ber. Anybody?
Oh, well, I mean, you kind of figured that they were going to throw Felder and he was going to have a big day.
Yeah.
It's kind of what all the signs were pointing to that going in. Congrats to them. And, Bentonville, kind of the surprise team. I think we all thought it might be Rogers. They got their big win over Rogers in the semifinals to get there. Didn't work out for them in the championship game, but that's why this time of year is fun. Because you end up with some matchups. A lot of times you end up with a state champion that nobody saw coming.
Yeah.
And in this case, the team that everybody thought would win in that matchup did win.
I talked to Dustin Helmkamp today, and this will be part of the podcast that I do after the conclusion of the Hogs Illustrated Sports Club luncheons. Interviewed both he and Coach Luther today, but Dustin said that their season kind of turned a little bit when they lost a game to Fayetteville. They had played a Monday night game and had beaten Fayetteville in conference play, and then they came back the next night, and Fayetteville beat them. And I think there might have been, this is boys. They were a little chirping going on, and a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And, Har-Ber boys couldn't say anything about it. They had lost, and Fayetteville took it to them. And when they take it to you,
got to keep your mouth
you
shut
keep
and go
your
on.
mouth shut and take it. You can either do 2 things. You can get mad about it and let it dog you for the rest of the year, or you can use it to your benefit. Well, Har-Ber used it to its benefit. Har-Ber didn't lose another game the rest of the year. He's also telling me about after a game after that game was played, they played an out-of-state team and one of those non-conference later in the week games that they play, and the team that they were playing had a pitcher who had verbally committed to go play somewhere, maybe Mizzou or something like that. Anyway, Har-Ber didn't throw its best. They didn't throw Fielder that game because he's a conference pitcher. So the other team was kind of chirping about the Har-Ber pitcher a little bit, and telling him it was going to be a long day because he wasn't their number 1 guy and whatever. And they kind of were able to feed off that and use that as motivation and beat that team. Again, it was it's little things like that kind of fuel your fire, and players either get fire toughens you. It
Sure.
can toughen you, or it can burn you down. And they chose to go the toughen route, and Har-Ber used that to their benefit and rallied the troops. And the rest, as they say, is history. And they have a big, ginormous wooden trophy now in their trophy case as a state champion.
I believe Dustin.
Well, I think
I
And I think the key for Har-Ber too was they had that one ace that they could, hitch their wagon to.
Yeah, they did.
And Felder was definitely that guy.
And he's back next year. He's just a junior. He is back.
And they, I think Har-Ber I saw yesterday was ranked 19th, I think, maybe 21st, right around the top 20 in the collegiate baseball high school ranking.
There you go.
Which I hold that one in the highest regard of any high school ranking there is
Right.
collegiate baseball.
Right.
Lou Pavlovich is the editor of that paper, and I've got to talk to him a few times in Omaha. He's always there, and it's just he does a great job, and I think that publication is the best one for especially high school rankings.
They do a great job. They also do a great job with their college coverage, and so congratulations again to Har-Ber. Now, moving over to soccer, we had several teams compete for state championships in soccer. The Harrison girls, they won their championship game. They beat, I believe it was Pulaski Academy, if I'm looking here, 1-0. Graham, 1-0. See, I got a little soccer vernacular in me, 1-0. For Harrison, I believe state championship number 8 for Chris Pratt. Is that correct?
That's correct.
what I saw.
Yeah. So Claire Barger was big in that game. No surprise for Harrison.
Not at all.
She's whatever sport she plays, she's big in it. And so big win for Harrison and Coach Chris Pratt. Congratulations to them on winning the girls Class 5A soccer state championship. Also state championship, Bentonville girls. They got a 3-0. 3-0.
3-0 is fine. It's all right.
Yeah. 3-zip. 3-zip
And
win.
you can continue to use correct subject-verb agreement when it's like, Bentonville has one instead of Bentonville have one, like they like to say over there.
There you go. So Bentonville 3-zip against Fayetteville for the girls 6A. It is their 8th overall state championship in girls soccer. The surprising thing to me was they had not won a championship since 2017.
Been a while.
Yeah, been 6 or 5, 6 seasons or whatever, which is an eternity for them.
It was crazy because they stacked that 7 state titles from 2006 to whenever 7 and 11 years or whatever, and didn't win one. It'd been an old dry spell for them.
So congratulations to them. And then in a battle of local teams in our coverage area in 3A boys, it was Green Forest with a big 4-1 win against Haas Hall Bentonville. Paul, you had written a little advance on that one on Haas Hall Bentonville, and great seasons for both of those teams.
Outstanding. Both of them had great years.
Yeah. So congratulations to Green Forest and getting that win and capping off a big win
Nice
there. And
season.
I don't think any state representatives had to file any kind of grievances on that one because Haas Hall is a charter school, not a private school. So,
Right.
But it didn't matter because Green Forest won anyway. So there you go. So that wraps up the spring sports season for all of our schools. And now
you mentioned the boys soccer. I know you were there and you talked about it earlier. But
yeah, and that one I did cover the Springdale boys. They lost in a tough match there to Conway, which won its 2nd straight state championship 3-1. It was a great match there. There was it got a little chippy. There were some yellow cards issued or whatever in that one. But a great win for Conway, kind of avenged a loss that they had to Springdale in 2021, in which Springdale won the championship by beating Conway. So big win there.
What did you think about watching soccer on that turf over there? I've only done that a couple times in the All-Star game, but I was always on field level because I was shooting some photos. So
I thought it was pretty
it's
horrendous.
different.
I thought it was pretty horrendous facility to play a soccer match in. The sidelines were not even visible. They were on the other side of what would have been the football benches there. I was not a big fan of any of the venues there. In softball, I had to sit underneath the press box, out, kind of underneath it. No access to my laptop, no electricity, nothing like that. So all I was able to do was follow Game Changer on my phone and write down notes on a notepad. No room, no space in the press box at all for me to watch the game. So if I were going to rate the venues there at UCA, I would not rate them very highly as far as hosting anything like this again.
So what you're saying? Let's bring it back up here for a little bit.
Well, let's get it either here or let's get it a place that is capable of handling what we're doing there. And so just like Leland mentioned, Booneville had to stop at batting cages at some youth sports park on their way into play a state championship game, and that's not a good thing.
No.
But these kids will walk off the pitch and the fields or whatever with championship trophies like they should be, and nobody cares if I had to sit under a press box. Nobody cares. And I'm not whining and complaining about it. All I am saying is maybe take those things into consideration the next time you award those championship level events like that, because it does kind of matter a little bit to having a work environment there for people.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, we're not just there as spectators. We're there to work
we are working, believe it or not.
Yeah. That, again, what a great school year this was. We started, last August with, the football season starting and had some great seasons there for teams. Bentonville advancing to the 7A, going 6A, 7A. 7A state championship football game there against the juggernaut that is Bryant. And Shiloh Christian also playing for a state championship in their first season in 5A. Had a terrific, cross country, golf, tennis. Springdale Har-Ber girls repeated as golf champions with a first-year coach. Tennis was great, cross country great. Henry Apple went down to Hot Springs and covered that cross country with, I believe it was a girl from Bentonville that was just an absolute terror on the cross country track there. Basketball was phenomenal, and the Farmington girls won loss all year long and winning the 4A state championship. Springdale boys advancing to the 6A state championship with a team basically loaded with sophomores, and that took us right into the spring. So lots and lots and lots of great high school sports in this 2022-23 school year.
Man, it goes by quick. I mean, it just felt like we were getting ready for football season.
Yeah.
You snap your fingers and here we are, about to get ready for it again.
Exactly. So we do. We have a few little vacancies and some vacancies in the coaching ranks and that kind of thing that'll be filled if they haven't already been filled in the coming days to get ready for summer 7-on-7s and team camps and all that kind of stuff that's coming up. Talked to Jeff Conaway at the Shiloh Christian. I believe it was Monday or yesterday. I can't remember which day it was. The Southwest Elite 7-on-7, which is the big 7-on-7 tournament up here in Northwest Arkansas, will be a one-day only event on July the 13th. And like Graham said, it might be a little warm that day.
Be toasty.
Yeah.
I'm sweating already just thinking about it.
Yep, it usually is. Usually is a little bit warm that day. But what you do is you grab any of those little ninth graders that are under the tents, under the shade there, and you toss them out of the way, and then you take their spot.
Yeah,
you got to earn your shade, buddy. Got to earn that. And you're in the ninth grade. You hadn't earned it.
And then there just isn't a whole lot of shade over at Shiloh.
Yeah.
So
last year at the Southwest Elite, I was standing under one of those tents to get out of the sun for a little while, and I think it was one of Fayetteville's receivers came over. They've got a big ice bath over there for people if they get cramps or something to either sit in or whatever. He comes over. Full, stuff on, cleats and everything, jumps into that and then jumps out and runs back out on the field. And I kind of looked at him and laughed, and he said, gotta cool my feet off.
Yeah. Smart kid. Kid.
Well, because on the turf there, it's just so hot, like right on the surface. And I never really thought about that concept before, but it's not the first time I've ever heard that about how hot your feet can get.
Yeah. That turf can get pretty hot over there. So that brings us to the feats of the week. And Leland, I figure I know what your feat of the week is going to be, but I'm going to let you go ahead and go first.
Well, of course, junior pitcher Lexi Franklin
Somehow I knew that was
You
going
know,
to be your feat.
bandaged eye and all, pitched and hit her team to the Class 3A state championship. Her pitching line was 7 innings pitched, gave up 6 hits, 2 earned runs, walked 2, struck out 3, threw 103 pitches.
Wow.
And pitched her team to the Class 3A state championship, the second in Lady Bearcats history in any girls sport.
Wow.
The other one was 2004, also in softball. So
Wow.
she's a junior, and she'll be back next year, and we'll get to see her pitch one more year.
Now, Leland, we also want to mention that you'll be doing your all River Valley teams. Those will start the first Sunday in June, correct? Do you know what order they're going to be in?
I do not remember what order they're in. I do know that this Sunday we're actually starting the youth of the year from the Fort Smith Boys and Girls Club this Sunday, and then we'll have baseball, softball, track, which we are doing something a little different in track this year. We're going to have for both boys and girls to kind of separate it out a little bit, because track has such a wide variety of events. We're going to do sprinter, long distance, and a runner and a jumper.
Gotcha.
And a jumper and a thrower.
Okay.
Because the events in track and field, I think there's 16 normally at a state or at a track meet.
Right.
So we're going to have 4 girls and 4 boys in those things, and it'll take us into July, and then that's on top of 7-on-7 camps, team camps for football, and then even on June the 6th, Northside is hosting a big team basketball camp with Northside, Southside, Van Buren, Russellville, Greenwood, Pecola, Oklahoma,
Okay.
which is very good, and a team coming in from Illinois.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, now, Leland, is pole vaulting a throw or a jump? Because although I guess you jump, sort of, the pole throws you over the bar. So is that a jump or a throw?
I think we put that into the jump.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm making an argument for the throw because I think the pole throws you over there a little bit too. But that's the all River Valley teams coming up. And again, that's in the River Valley Democrat-Gazette, which comes out on Sundays. And they'll be honoring all of the spring athletes there for starting the first week of June, and that'll take you through the whole month of June, or maybe into July, I think, right?
It'll be into July.
There you go.
Then we'll wrap all of that up with the overall athlete of the year.
Athletes of the year. All right. The all Northwest Arkansas Democrat-Gazette spring teams will start off on June the 18th. That will be with girls softball on that date, and it will bookend on the following Sunday with all NWADG baseball. And in between that, we will have boys and girls soccer and boys and girls track. So we'll be honoring all sorts of athletes from all across the region in the coming weeks for that. That gets us into the heart or the heat of the summer. You can, just almost the same word, just one letter, different. I don't know if you knew that or not. But anyway, all right, so that gets me to my feat of the week. And my feat of the week is the lower half of the Gravette order, which the upper half was kind of stymied by some great pitching by Emery Boland of Pea Ridge, who she stymies a lot of people. And she was able to kind of keep the upper batters in that batting order at bay, but the lower half of that order came through for them big time, combined 5 hits, 5 RBIs, including a 2-run home run in Gravette's big win. So they are my feat of the week for leading the Lady Lions to their first ever state softball championship.
Well, if the Thunder doesn't get you, then the Lightning will.
The Lightning did, yeah.
So,
yep, absolutely.
Murderer's Row over there in Gravette's what it sounds
and
like.
a lot of them coming back. A lot of them coming back.
Nice.
Yep. So anybody else got one? Graham got anything?
I'll go one here, and we're gonna go back to back on doubling up with some Harrison girls soccer again, and this time we're just gonna focus on Claire Barger with Harrison.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I've seen her play in multiple sports, and she's really, really talented. But Chip, I don't know if you saw, or Leland, if you saw the goal she scored. I saw a video of it, on Twitter, and it was one of those shots where it was behind the play, okay? And so you got this wide shot, and the ball, is lofted in from about 40 yards out or so. and you see Barger come swooping in from the right side, and so the keeper's coming out, Barger's coming in, and she just has to and she gets one touch on it. It's a great touch, and she's able to kind of flick the ball in the goal. It's about as good of a high school girls soccer play as you'll ever see, and just unbelievable. That was the game winner for the 8th state title for Harrison.
Well, I know that the other teams, other schools in the 5A West are happy that Claire. Is it Barger or Barger?
Barger, I think, is
Barger?
what it is. I've butchered it every time I've said it. I think so.
I saw her play, I guess, twice in basketball the last 2 years.
She was a state champion in basketball too.
Yeah.
I already knew she was good in volleyball, and then I saw her in basketball, and I knew she was a tremendous athlete. So when I saw that she scored the game's only goal or the match's only goal in soccer and was the MVP, it did not surprise me at all.
Well, after I saw the video, I called Chris Pratt. I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Because man, it was a special goal.
Yeah.
And when you impress him, he's seen a lot of them. But
well, I know the other schools in the 5A West are glad to see her go.
Yes.
They are glad to see her
he,
go.
He may or not have cried happy tears, or not happy tears, but like, the reality is she ain't gonna be at Harrison anymore after that. So she'll be at John Brown, and she's gonna be there on a basketball scholarship. But if the soccer team is ever in need of a player, they don't have to look far for one.
Yeah. So she's playing basketball at JBU?
She's playing basketball.
Okay.
She's signed with the basketball
How's
team.
she just going to play just one sport when she's so used to playing all the sports? That's going to be a big adjustment for her.
And I've never heard of them doing a package deal like that. Now, they do it for, like, track and cross country. Like,
yeah.
You can do both because they're such opposite ends of the season and they're so similar. I don't think they do that, though, for soccer, basketball. But, maybe she could be the first.
There you go.
Because she could definitely compete in both areas there.
If anybody could do it, she could do it. She was just a tremendous athlete. So that will wrap up this final Prep Rally podcast of the school year. We are certainly happy that you have followed us. If just today was your only show you listened to, thank you for that. But hopefully you follow us all year long. And I'll be handing the keys off to Graham. And Graham will be taking on the show from this point moving forward. He will be he'll be sitting in the daddy chair is what we say. Sitting in the daddy chair. Yep. So for Graham Thomas and Paul Boyd and Leland Barclay, we appreciate you for listening to the Prep Rally podcast, and we will catch you sometime down the road.
The Prep Rally Podcast is produced and directed by the Northwest Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Find us on SoundCloud, Apple, Google Play, Spotify, and Stitcher.